Good evening, unique couples. We are live. I am Vito Patrick, one half of Vito and Linda of Unique Couples, and I would like to welcome you to Unique Couples Sunday Night Live. And I have with me this evening special guest, Karenda Swain-Rolle. Hello, Karenda. How are you doing?
Hi, Vito. Hi, and to all of you out there in Media Land. Good evening. Doing great. Great to see you, Vito.
Yes, it's great having you here this evening, Karenda. And for those of you that are watching in, go ahead and hashtag Live Squad. If you haven't subscribed to the Unique Couples YouTube channel, you want to go ahead and subscribe to the Unique Couples YouTube channel so you can be notified every time we go live here at Unique Couples. And make sure you turn on that notification bell. Today, we're going to be talking on the topic top 5 struggles newlyweds face. Top 5 struggles newlyweds face. And Karenda is going to be talking to us on this topic this evening. And Karenda, you are a newlywed, and I think you are what, going on 2 years now?
Almost 2 years. Not quite there as yet.
Okay,
Um,
August will be 2 years, right?
yes. August is going to be 2 years. 2 years. You
Okay,
know,
awesome,
you know,
awesome.
the topic is interesting though, Vito, because I know a lot of my peers or my family members or individuals watching may think newlyweds have an age category. Newlyweds suit the younger, the
Uh-huh.
younger couples. And this evening, I'm going to share from my perspective. I'm not a millennial. I am above that,
Okay.
and we too have our struggles. And I want to be able to share some of the struggles that I faced thus far in my newly years of being married to my husband. Great.
All right, awesome. And you have 5 of them that you will be sharing with us. So we're gonna go straight into it and give us number one. What is the number one struggle that newlyweds face? And it doesn't have to be number one, but because I know you have the top 5, so any one of them can be number one. But give us your first one.
Um, I'm reminded of the scripture that's found in Mark 10, verse 8 through 9. And for those of you who are watching or listening, I'm going to read the New King James Version of Mark 10, 8 to 9. And the majority of us who've been to weddings or who've been married or are still married, I'm positive the majority of you would be familiar with this scripture. And a portion of it says, "And the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate." And the reason why I want to highlight that scripture is when you look at two and it's now one. Two and now one. And I believe that many of us who are newlyweds, particularly those of us who marry in a later season of our life, can find it hard becoming this one. Yes, we will, stand and we'll take the vows and we'll even take on our spouse's name. And we do love our spouse. But there are times when I find I'm guilty at times of, hey, it's no longer Karenda. It's now Cleveland and Karenda. It's not a decision only made by Karenda. It is a decision made together as a team or as a family. So I would say that happens to be one of the struggles for me in particular, um, marrying in this season of my life, forgetting that, or yes, forgetting, because I won't say I deliberately do it, forgetting that I have a teammate and there are certain decisions that we need to make together rather than Karenda making it on her own or Cleveland making it on his own. And I'm not saying that as couples, we don't have the rights to make our own decision. We're not children, but there's some fundamental things within the marriage that that requires the decision of one, meaning the two of us becoming one. So I don't know if you remember that in your marriage during your early years. I know you're a veteran, um, Vito, but it's hard at times. I was single for years, paying my own bills, making my own decision, coming as I please,
Yes,
and
exactly.
now this this old tree, this old tree now have to bend and
Yeah.
humble herself and now include another individual. What are your
Yes. So
thoughts?
yes. So you are absolutely correct. You are no longer one. It's now the two of you. So there are a lot of things you're going to be doing together. There will be decisions that will be made together, and you want to include your spouse in it. And that's important. That is a struggle that newlyweds can face because, like you said earlier, you were making your own decisions, going when you want, coming when you want, and as it relates to doing whatever you want around the house, not worrying about this person. Now here it is, you are married, you have your spouse, and you have to do things together. Because
Yes.
here it is, it's the two of you coming together, the two of you from different backgrounds, but you are now becoming one. You are now living together. So you have to do things together because you are no longer by yourself. You're a team. You're
Yeah.
the roles team. So you have
Yes.
to do things together.
And I'm reminded of a situation where a family member called her spouse and said, "What are we going to eat for lunch?" Right? She was the hungry one. Her spouse wasn't the hungry one. But she picked up the phone and said, "So what are we going to eat?" Right? And then I thought about that situation or that scenario. There are times when we are so selfish, and I don't know if we could classify this as number two. That now it's not only about us. I don't know if that could still go under number one, but at times we are so selfish, we forget we have an individual in our life who is a part of us, who we're one, and now we have to make sure we don't overlook that individual. So Vito, you tell me, is that number two or number one?
Well, that could be number two because it's important not to be selfish in your marriage. And just to use the food as an example, so if you and your spouse work, let's say remote locations on either end of the island or in the United States where you are like long distance away. I know like Linda and I, one of the things we do, we typically carry lunch to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically make sure the lunch is taken up so we can have it the next day. And I make sure take it out that morning so we can carry it. So that's important where you are not selfish. You want to make sure look out for your partner. And it all depends on what I don't think it should be assigned to anyone, but whoever is better at it, you just continue doing it and make sure it happens. Because I typically would make sure I take up the lunch in the morning time, make sure Linda Linda bag is packed for school, so when she goes out, she has a lunch because she she works about at least a half an hour from my work. So for me to take lunch to her, that's going to take a very long time. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure you work to get on that and not be selfish. And there
Absolutely.
are a number of other areas in your marriage where you don't want to be selfish either. So selfishness, that's a good point for number two.
Okay. So I would look at that as my number two. Sometimes we can be selfish. We can forget, especially if you've been single for a long period of time, you can forget. I'm not saying that I've never forgotten. I try not to, but there are times when we have a tendency of forgetting, hey, we have a spouse. And if your belly empty, his belly empty too. So it's not only about it's not only about filling your stomach, but also filling his as well. A thing that we do in our family is if I go somewhere and let's say I go to an event and let's say I go to a family event and there's something there, I got something, I would normally would say, especially if it's at my sister's house, make sure I take up something for hubby. I'm thinking about them. They may not need it. They may not even want it, but I want him to always know that I am thinking about him as well. So that's my number two.
Don't be
Number,
selfish.
yeah, not to be selfish.
Yes.
And another thing, another point or another illustration that I realize that I have a tendency of doing if I travel, that if I'm shopping, I would shop and I would make sure that he is taken care of. If he's the one that's funding the trip, especially this is for you or this is for the kids, I always find myself saying, I could do without. I would like for him to get something out of this trip, even though he may not be physically there. So, yeah. So that's my number two. Number three for me,
Okay.
number three is, and like you say, it's not in order. We have a blended family. And for those of newlyweds that have blended families, especially having children that are not biologically your own, that in itself can be a challenge. God has blessed me with two biological kids and my husband, three biological kids and a grandson. So we're blended. And I do believe our blend is working. But I want you to know it was not 100% perfect because it can be complicated or hard on either side of the family for the kids. Their dad is now taking on a new wife. Their mom is no longer in the picture, or their mom is now taking on a new husband. Their dad is no longer in the picture. That could be a psychological, some psychological issue for the kids, as well as for the husband and the wife, and having to deal with internal fights or things that perhaps transpire before you were even in the picture. That it's in itself can be a challenge for those of us who are newlyweds and particularly blended. Now, I wish my all of my kids were on this platform so that they could give you a true their perspective on it, or their perspective, their views on it. Because I could say, oh, we're such a happy Brady Bunch family, but if you perhaps interview them, you might hear something different. But I know it can be hard on us as newlyweds, as well as it can be hard for kids. But I do believe by God's grace, when you have that couple, they're united, they're strong, God is leading, and the children are able to be a part of that, it can truly be a blessing. Because I've seen it, I've been seeing it in the few months I've been married to my husband. So that's my number three. Blended family, it can be a challenge.
Okay, so blended family can be a challenge, and so communication would help as it relates to blended family, right? You have to have that constant communication. You want to make sure you are open and clear with everything, so nobody feelings get hurt. You don't offend anybody, right?
Yeah, you don't want to offend it, but this is real life. We will offend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We will offend. I have offended. They have offended. But it's the way how we deal with the situation as a couple. The husband and wife is key. If I didn't have the support of my husband, it would definitely not work. If he did not have the support of me, it would definitely not work.
Right.
We've seen situations where he either had a disagreement with his own children, and I had to be the one there that's trying to mend the situation, or trying to be
Be the
this
mediator.
the mediator. That's the word, the mediator. And there are times when it did work. Um, and as a
Ah,
mother, and as a mother, I I love my husband dearly, and he knows that. But I always try not to interfere in the relationship that he has with his children. We have a good relationship overall. His children, my children. We even have a blended family chat. And it's like we're all a part of
okay.
this happy family. But what I've noticed is, there are times they want to talk to their dad. They don't want to talk to me about certain things. There are certain things that my
Yeah.
kids want to talk to me about. So we have that respect for one another. We, try not to cross the line, if that's the correct term, but it has been working. I currently, we have a 11-year-old, and I know it's hard for him, adjusting to this new rules, this new mom, new diet, new day of worship. It can be challenging for the
Yeah.
children, but it can be challenging not only for the children but for the families, the husband and wife as well. But by God's grace, I do see us getting through it, and we're committed in building our marriage, to ensure that it is healthy.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. For those of you that are just tuning in, today we are here on Unique Couple Sunday Night Live. We are talking on the topic top 5 struggles newlyweds face. We have special guests with us, Karenda Swain-Rolle. Number 1, she would have talked about teamwork, working together as a team. You know that you are now married. You probably would have been single for a number of years. You are making your own decisions, doing your own thing, but now you are married to your spouse and you want to work together as a team. So she talked about the importance of teamwork. Number 2, she spoke about don't be selfish. You don't want to be selfish to your spouse. That also is very important. And that can be in a number of different areas in your marriage. And that also can be as relates to food as well. You have to eat. That's important. So you don't want to be selfish. Then number 3, she talked about blended family. That can be a struggle for newlyweds that are married and you have a blended family. You want to be able to mesh. You want to be able to connect everyone together. So that is going to require work. So you want to make sure that you and your spouse, you are on the same page, you are working, so you can have a great marriage even though you have a blended family, because there will be issues that will arise, there will be challenges, but you have to work together as a team. Going right back to number 1, working together as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Karenda, go ahead and give us number 4.
Number 4, Vito, you know me very well. You and Linda know my personality.
Uh-huh.
And the majority of my family members, they do. Unfortunately, when you're dating, you don't get to see everything about the person. Um, so what I found that I had to do was to find a way to teach my husband about me. My jokes can be very harsh, and in some cases, it could be offensive to him. Whereas in my family circle, we can say things, we can laugh, we can, we can throw things at each other verbally and have a great old time, and we still love each other. He is now learning who this woman is. So there's some sides that he's never seen. And it was not that it was being hidden from him. It's just that certain circumstances or certain environments didn't warrant to it. So when I make certain statements or I do certain things or I say certain things to family members, I would get this tap on my shoulder, you gotta, he liked to say, you have to pump the brakes. You have to pump the brakes. And I'm like, that's me. That's
Uh-huh.
me, right? And even though it's me, and I'm not saying to anyone on this platform to change who you are, we have to take into consideration who we are. We are also a part of that individual that we marry. And there's some things that may not be acceptable to them, and we may have to pump the brakes. So, in other words, I would say find, being able to compromise at times can be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been a challenge. And I'm not going to sit here and say that no, compromising is always easy. It isn't. But finding that you now have to compromise more than ever before. When you were by yourself, you didn't have to compromise. It's you,
No, you
whatever
didn't.
you say, whatever you do. And now Karenda is now compromising more because, again, it is important to me that I have a healthy marriage. And I'm sure if Cleveland was here, he would have said likewise. It is so important that we maintain a healthy marriage. And in doing so, we will have to compromise. So that is my number 4.
So you have to
Compromising.
compromise.
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that
Compromise.
that is that is very important, like you said, and you want to do that because, like you mentioned, when you are dating, only so much yet to see. But now the two of you are now married, and you are now living with this person, and now you start seeing all these things. So you have to compromise. That's a
Mhm.
that's a very important one as well, Karenda. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That leads to number
And
5. What is
number
number 5?
5. Number 5 can be summed up as submission. And most people, they believe that a woman should submit, and they're thinking only in the bad. Right? And yes, we should submit, and men too should submit. There are times when we want to do things a certain way, and they may want to do a different way. I guess that's where compromise comes into place. But being submissive to our spouse, giving of ourselves to our spouse. And that's not only in the bedroom. It's good when it's in the bedroom. It's really good. But it's more to it being submissive financially. I've heard horror stories from women whose spouse, you know, financially stable, and they're mean. They don't want to give. You know, they're holding back their finances. So I'm saying being submissive, um, sexually, intimately, financially, and even being submissive in the way how we speak, being open and sharing our feelings with each other. And sharing of feelings can start from in the bedroom. There's some positions, Vito, you know it, some women don't like, and
Mm-hmm.
some men just don't like. And there's a way in which we are able to communicate those feelings with one another. So the reason why I choose submissive, because it has a combination of communication and all of that wrapped up into it. When we're submitting, we're sharing our feelings, we're sharing our hurt, we're sharing something that happened today at work, or something that happened in the grocery store or at church. We're dialoguing, we're having that communication, or that time where we're laughing, and even in some cases we're crying together. So I believe that that can be a challenge, especially to young couples who, they're not 100% certain what it is this marriage thing is all about. They took a leap of faith, but sometimes you and I, we would say we're going to do something, but we're still a bit timid and have not
Mhm.
fully plunged into the water. One like me, I will go, but only so far I'm going to go until we get to that time in our life, or until we are fully comfortable or trusting of that loved one, we may not be able to truly submit. So I would say submission, and that includes the communication, trust, relationship building, all in one. So what do you think about those five?
Yes, that was another excellent one. Submission. And like you say, it goes both ways with wives submitting to your husband, and husband also being submissive to your wife. And it's not only in the bedroom. As Karenda mentioned, she talked about the finances, she talked about intimacy, she talked about communication. All of those are important, and you have to work together as a team, going back to number one. And a part of that is being submissive. So all of the points, like Karenda said, all of them, they tie into one another. And like we always say here at Unique Couples, once you are married, you have to put in the work in your marriage. Just like we go to our jobs Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or however our work schedule is, in marriage, you also have to do the same thing as well. You have to put in that work. You have to constantly communicate with one another. A part of that is being submissive. You also have to work together as a team, like Karenda just said, which was number one. Don't be selfish to one another as well. So all of this you have to do. You have to put that work in your marriage. And then she also talked about compromising. You are going to have to compromise on a lot of things, because when you were single, you had your money and you had your budget set. When you go shopping, you would probably only buy things for you. Now you are married with your spouse, so the two of you are now one, and you put your resources together. So you're gonna have to compromise on maybe that $200 pair of tennis I wanted to buy. I probably would have to now only get $100 pair of tennis, or a $10 pair of tennis. It all depends, So you have to compromise, and communication is important, and you have to do all of that. So Karenda, they were some excellent points. And I know that any newlyweds that are watching this, they they will also they will learn from this today, so they can continue to improve their marriage, so they can have a great marriage.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, Vito. Sometimes when we're around our friends, couple friends, or persons who are dating, who have been married, or who are newlyweds, you would find that at times we share certain information with the group, and sometimes you're sitting there and you're hearing some of their stories, and you're saying to yourself, well, I don't have that issue. And I want the viewers this evening to understand that these are just some of the issues that you may face, and you may not ever face them. It's just that some of these are common. I know personally a few of them were really, really my experience, and I thought it would be fitting to share those. We had a situation where we sat down with a group and we were sharing information and talking, and there were a lot of information that was shared with us, and we could not relate. And I remember one of the couples said, "Oh, y'all newlyweds, so y'all ain't gone through this as yet." And very well they could be correct. And I'm praying God that we don't have to go through certain things that some couples are going through, understanding what it is we want from out of our marriage. But I just want to encourage, particularly the young married couples. When I say young, I'm talking about your newlyweds. Don't matter what age you are. And you may say, well, we're older, so we won't face certain situation, and that can be the case. But just to always to ensure that we focus on each other. And the only way we could truly do that, and I remember a scripture, I think it was in Revelation, where it speaks about Christ loves the church, the husband loves his wife, and honestly, I love my husband, but it's good to know that he truly loves me. And as newlyweds, I encourage you not to let that flame go out. Continue to rekindle that fire, and continue to be on platforms like Unique Couples, who are building healthy marriages. Vito and Linda, they're very young, but they're committed in helping couples to strengthen their marriage. And I am here as a testimony to say to all of you out there, just continue to put God first and love God, and the marriage will truly, truly become stronger.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Karenda. And I agree with what you're saying. And to the newlyweds, you want to also make sure that you attend marriage enrichment seminars so you can continue to build your marriage. And then you also want to tune into Unique Couples Sunday Night Live every Sunday so you can learn more things as it relates to marriage, because you will hear all sorts of different stories once you tune into Unique Couples, because we interview couples every week, every Sunday, and every couple is unique in their own way. So you will have all the different stories, different testimonies, and you will be able to learn from these different marriages. And like I said earlier, marriage is work. So you want to continuously work on your marriage, improve your marriage. We want to see marriages thrive. We want to see your marriage go to the next level. So continue to follow Unique Couples. So Karenda, can you go ahead and tell our viewing audience how they can connect with you on social media if they want to get in contact with Karenda?
Well, first of all, I wanted to add something to what you said before I do that.
Okay.
It's not only this platform, I find, is not only to learn, but to also teach. Your experience, your and Linda's experience, has been a teaching tool that's been used for many couples. And some of the guests, in fact, most of the guests that you have on your platform, they're actually helping to teach others about how to strengthen their marriage as well. So I encourage them to continue to support your program, Unique Couples. So if anyone needs to reach me, I'm Karenda Swain-Rolle. You can email me at karendaswain@gmail.com, or I'm on Facebook, Lady Swain at hotmail.com, or Lady Swain. I'm also Karenda on Instagram. And if they ever trying to reach me and can't get me that way, they can reach out to Unique Couples. They know how to get a hold of me. And I'm here to talk anytime. Thank you for the opportunity, Vito.
Yes, thank you to Karenda for taking time out of your schedule to be with us this evening on Unique Couple Sunday Night Live, talking on the topic Top 5 Struggles Newlyweds Face. We really enjoyed it, and I know that the newlyweds who would have watched this or even watched the replay, they will learn a lot from what you would have said this evening. Also, our Unique Couples community, you want to go ahead and join the Unique Couples Marriage Club. If you are not a part of the Unique Couples Marriage Club, you want to go ahead and become a part of the Unique Couples Marriage Club. There is the link right there. You can go ahead and join about it. Like I said earlier, we want to see marriages thrive, and you can become a part of the Unique Couples Marriage Club, and you can get your spouseology degree once you become a part of the Unique Couples Marriage Club. So go ahead and join the Unique Couples Marriage Club. Also, if you are having any, if you want, if you want relationship help, Linda and I, we are here. So you can go ahead and book a free 15-minute consultation session. The link is below. You can go ahead and book a session and you can sit with us and we'll go from there. Linda and I, we are marriage coaches. So go ahead and connect with us if you want more relationship help. Linda and I, we are here to help you. So for our unique couples community, I want to say a special thank you for tuning in with us this evening. We are going to be back here again next week, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Unique Couples YouTube channel. Once again, I want to say thank you, Karenda, for being with us today and for our Unique Couples community. Here at Unique Couples, we are building stronger couples, healthier marriages, and happier families. We love you guys. Have a great evening and have a great upcoming week. And we will see you next week, Sunday. Love you guys. Bye.